Did you know your photos have an expiration date? You might think putting your memories on the cloud means they'll live forever, but they won't. However, there is a place hidden deep in the Arctic that claims it can store your digital data for thousands of years. Safe from floods, pandemics, even a nuclear war. So what's in here? And is there a secret to making data last forever?
Oh my god, you're so young. Look at you go.
So I found this tape in my family's home. What we're watching here is from I think when I was about 9 years old. It's me doing this piano lesson. Such a key part of my childhood. It's this sort of time capsule from the early 2000s. Do you digitize tapes? I got the tape digitized so I could preserve the memory, maybe pass it down to my kids one day. But it got me thinking, how long will this digital file last for? Like, what's the best way to store data for the long term?
Yeah. So, what is the best way?
Well, I came across this place that pickles it.
What?
I went to Svalbard, this island deep in the Arctic that's not far from the North Pole, to do a story about coal mines. But at the same time, I heard about this place called the Arctic World Archives. It's a decommissioned coal mine. It's a few hundred meters under the mountains. It's underneath permafrost. It's pretty cold. Once you get deep enough, you'll suddenly see this door with shiny letters that says Arctic World Archive. And it's kind of surreal. And it was run by a company called Piql, this Norwegian company that promises to store data for thousands of years.
Pickle, like...
Yep, exactly. Pickles.
Hi, Albert. Very nice to have you here. Come in. So, let's go.
They essentially have this technology that turns data into film. And they put this film onto reels. On each frame of the roll of film, they print a super high definition QR code. And there's about 8 million pixels on each of these QR codes.
At the moment, there's no better technology to store data long term than on film.
So for example, they've got the Bible, an award-winning movie, famous works of art embedded in these pixels. The film reels are locked away in a vault, which they say has the ideal conditions to preserve it. It's basically a perfect time capsule for our data.
It's interesting because this sounds like a very old school way of archiving things, just with a digital twist.
Yeah, they actually compare it to the Rosetta Stone.
Which, if you think about it, it's basically just this piece of rock with writing on it. So their belief is that the physical medium will always last longer than almost everything else.
I've been speaking with a lot of archivists for this story, and I didn't realize just how vulnerable our digital lives are.
There is a perception that if it's digital, if it's on the web, it has this sense of permanence, but actually it's the opposite.
Your digital data can disappear for all sorts of reasons, like cyber attacks.
The data breach involved
In a recent cyber attack
has exposed the personal information of more than 2 million
Or the companies
customers.
storing your data might go bust, like think of MySpace. Now, there are people who are trying to back all this up. For example, the Internet Archive, which is attempting to, well, archive the whole internet. The problem is we're putting out so much stuff, so much data online now, that things just get lost.
Networks and people and institutions preserve objects. It's not the system that does it, but there's just not enough of the people, or the time, or the resources.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, so your MySpace page, not a big deal if it disappears. But the British Library was hacked last year. They were offline for months, and the library still hasn't recovered access to everything in its digital collection.
A lot of scientists are actually talking about this type of century to have the potential to be the forgotten century in the future.
But maybe the most
most important that is put in here? McDonald's are put in the recipe for burgers.
So the big question is Piql the answer to all this?
Well, let me tell you how much it cost first.
It was about 9,000 euros for 120 gigs worth of data, or one roll of film. So it's a bit pricier than using iCloud.
Yeah, but I was just thinking, aren't you running the same risk with Piql as you are with the cloud? Like, I haven't seen their business plan, but are they going to last for 2,000 years?
If Piql does go under, the idea is to set up a foundation with enough money to keep the Arctic World Archive going on. But forever is a long time. Piql picks Svalbard because it's a kind of special place. It's not owned by any country, it's isolated, it's remote, but who knows what it'll look like in the future? It is the fastest warming place on Earth, and
8 years ago, melting permafrost got into the famous seed vault, which is in the same coal mine as the Arctic World Archives.
Well, if preserving data for thousands of years is so difficult, maybe the bigger question here is, do we really have to preserve things that long?
So I can't see thousands of years into the future, but to an extent I can see 5 years down the line. What we can do is prepare for the next generation. And I can prepare and present and pass on more like a relay race into the future.
when my dad filmed that video, I don't think he was thinking, oh, hopefully one day in 30 years, my son or somebody's gonna watch it. It was just more of like, I want to preserve this moment.
But I figured, since I was down there, I might as well find a budget solution.
When, you are sort of living your everyday life, you're in a big city, life just goes by so quickly, right? But in a place like Svalbard, in an old coal mine, everything just stands still. And it just felt like a really fitting place to leave a tiny part of my memory there.
Well, you did very well, actually.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This video really got us thinking about what's worth preserving for 1,000 years. What would you put in the Arctic World Archive? Let us know in the comments. Nice. Beautiful. Well done.
Okay.